Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Motivate You, the Winner's Circle with your host, June Archer. I'm here, quarantined, locked in, but having a good time and super excited about my next guest. You know how I feel about my sports and my music. And my next guest, Yale graduate, went to the NFL. He's making his way, doing some big things. Please welcome to the show, Jaeden Graham, ladies and gentlemen. Jaeden, welcome to the show, brother.
Hey, June, thanks for having me, man.
Man, thank you so much for joining us. How are you guys making out with this quarantine?
Yeah, it's kind of weird being an athlete right now because a lot of the facilities are closed to everybody, but I kind of got a little space here and I'm just kind of doing my own workouts at home and staying in shape as best as I can.
Listen, whatever you're doing, just be safe. I want to talk about your career, man. Like you started out at Yale University from Colorado. How did you make it from Colorado all the way to New Haven, Connecticut?
Yeah, the whole journey is pretty crazy, and that's what a lot of people will say too. Is my journey's kind of crazy, but when you live it, kind of everything makes sense. And you have someone who looks at my story and they see where I started at point A in Colorado, and they see me on the Falcons now as point Z, and they look at it as just like A to Z, but they don't live the B through the Y, which I've lived.
Right.
So, for me, it's not so crazy when you've been through what I've been. And in Colorado, I was a quarterback that moved over to safety and started getting recruited as a defensive player for my speed. And I actually had this opportunity at Yale. Yale called me. I got good grades in school, and they
Wow.
called me. I wasn't even thinking about it. And when I found Yale, I went and took a visit there, and I decided to go. I was recruited as an outside linebacker, and I played linebacker for 3 years there, and moved over to the offensive side of the ball my senior year and just had a breakout season and got some looks and signed with the Falcons in 2018. So living here in Atlanta now, and it's been nuts. It's been great, but it's been a lot of fun.
So let me ask you this. You have an underdog story. Like you were undrafted and you are playing for the Atlanta Falcons. Like
That's
some
right.
people don't always get those stories. Of course, you do hear these stories, but you just said it. You were on the other side of the field. Now you're playing offense, tight end,
Yeah.
undrafted. You make the team, and you have like a breakout opportunity to really showcase yourself. What was that feeling like when you were undrafted to really pursue this thing? Because sometimes people get down and like, listen, you know what, Jaeden, you may not make the team. Hey, Jaeden,
Yeah.
not certain if this is a fit for you. What was going through your mind during the process of being undrafted?
Sure. Well, it is really easy to get down, and I would be lying if I said I didn't have my down moments, and I had people that were pulling me and helping support me, like my dad. Was someone I can call all the time and encourage me. But what it comes down to is I knew all my life I wanted to be a pro athlete. I used to play baseball, I did track, I did football. I started leaning towards football in high school. I just loved it. I love the physicality of it. I love the game itself. I think it's a beautiful game. And once I had my breakout year in college, though, I remember I came in my freshman year, and my goal was I'm going to go play in the NFL. I'm here at Yale, but I'm going to the NFL.
Wow.
And my senior year, I had a great season, and I'd been busting my butt all off season going into that year. I worked as an equity research analyst in Stamford, Connecticut, doing like stock calls, on like pitches on stocks for different hedge funds. And what I would do is I had that job that I'd show up at 7 a.m. and I'd work till 3, 4 o'clock. And what I would do is I'd be waking up at 4:30 in the morning that summer, going into my senior year, and just going to the gym, working out at the gym until 6:30, leaving for work. And then as soon as work gets over at 3 to 4, I go back to the gym. I go home, I go to bed, and it's something that I've always had on my mind. It's something that I've always wanted to do, and I just always went after it. And the most difficult part, when you're a kid, a lot of kids want to go to the NFL and they say they're going to go to the NFL. And as you get closer, it gets a lot harder. And
Right.
you just got to keep reaching for it because it is right there. But on the third day of the draft, I knew I didn't have enough film. I had 1 year of film as a tight end, and I knew I didn't have enough film to get drafted. But I had enough. I had a good enough season. I had enough stats and to get an opportunity. And that's all I needed. That's all I ever wanted was just an opportunity. Because I knew if I had an opportunity, I could make the most of it, and I could be happy for the rest of my life. And the third day of the draft, I had a team call me, and that's the team that I thought I was going to end up going to. And they said, if everything goes according to plan, we're going to sign you at the end of the draft. And this is on the day of like the spring concert back at school. So all my buddies are partying, like everybody's having a good time. And I'm sitting in my dorm room, I'm watching the draft. And they ended up trading for a pick and ended up taking a tight end. And I haven't heard from them since, that team. And I didn't know what was going to happen. And I ended up getting some opportunities to try out for Detroit and try out for Oakland. I went to both those tryouts and I didn't get signed. But going to those tryouts and not getting signed is an easy way to feel bad and kind of say, just kind of give up on the whole thing. And, you know, for me, it was an opportunity to see that I could be there. I thought I was kind of overlooked, and I felt like I could be at this level if I had more of a chance. And it was me deciding between, do I go try to play in Canada for a year and get tape or what? And when I was trying to decide that, I got a call from Atlanta to come down and try out. And I tried out. I got signed to the 90-man roster for the summer, and I just made some plays with the opportunities I had, and ended up making the practice squad in 2018, and then the jump to the regular season playing on the 53-man roster this past year. But that whole process was there's definitely struggles in that process, and waiting for calls and not getting those calls, and then not expecting a call and then getting it. And it's definitely a roller coaster ride, but like I always knew that was something I wanted. So I always just kept pursuing it.
How important is work ethic? Because you talked about waking up and going to work at Stanford, and I want people who are watching and who are listening to get a sense of the geography in this. We're talking Stanford and New Haven are probably about a good 30, maybe 35 minutes apart from each other. Yeah. On a good day, though, if you're not stuck in traffic on 95, 91, or the Merritt Parkway, which I'm certain you're very familiar with.
I am familiar with the Merritt Parkway. So in more ways than you know.
Exactly. So there is a mindset, Jaeden, if you will, in order to be able to do that and go back, like you had to love it. How were you able to take that same grind and apply it to being undrafted and making it to a team in the National Football League?
Yeah. You know, and I'll touch on that work ethic for a second, because I at Yale, my senior spring at Yale, I was taking 5 classes. And on top of that, I was training for my pro day to put good enough numbers to get a tryout for the NFL. And I was training in Stanford, like you said, which is on a good day. I mean, on a good day, I would say it's 45 to an hour.
I was being a little kind. I was being a little kind.
Yeah. I was training with my trainer, who I still work with, Seth Foreman. He's incredible, and I just got in touch with him through just kind of coincidence by meeting someone who saw me working out at a high school field in the previous summer. But I'd wake up in the morning and I would go make that commute. I'd eat breakfast and I'd make that commute, and I'd come back after training. I'd get to all my classes, and I would wake up, and I'd be doing this all at the same time, and I'd go to bed at 9 o'clock and all this sort of thing. And you think like that work ethic is what got me here, and I know I got to continue that. And so the thing that has always helped me is I write everything down. I've got a schedule for my week of what I'm going to do, what I'm supposed to do, and I make sure I just hit it all. So I kind of let go of the consciousness of what do I have to do next. I just have it all planned out already, and just making sure you stick to that schedule. And it can definitely get hard. But you know, an analogy for that I would say was eating healthy for me. Like in college, what always came back to me was, what do I want more? And I would go into the dining hall, and I love pecan pie, I love cheesecake, I love that kind of stuff. If I go into the dining hall and I see pecan pie, it's like, man, I would like a slice of that pecan pie. But do I want the pecan pie more than I want to play in the NFL? And it's a
Right.
no, and it's always a no. And for me, if if a week later I'm still thinking about that pecan pie, I'll let myself have a slice, But most of the time, those kind of distractions are really fleeting, and they're just in your face for a moment. And if you can just keep your eyes ahead of you on what you really want to do, and that's what I do. I write my goals down. I put them everywhere. I put them on my mirror. I put them on my walls, so I can always keep my goals in front of me. And that's something I did in college in my dorm room. That's something I still do today, just to continue that work ethic.
You talk about the pecan pie and all these other things. How important is it, just to touch on the aspect of nutrition and putting the proper stuff in your body? Like, how important was it and how important is it now? Because a lot of people, and I want you to talk about this, some people will say, man, it's hard to get to the NFL. And, being in the music business, it took my group and I years to get a record deal. But when I look back, it was easier to get the record deal and harder to keep it. Now that you are there, like, what do you need to do? Like, for that person who's watching or listening, Jaeden, and they're looking to get to the next level and whatever it is they want to do. It could be corporate America, it could be football, it could be basketball, it could be hockey, whatever it may be. It could be trying to get a record deal.
Sure.
How important is it to make sure physically you're doing what you're supposed to be doing to your body and mentally what you're doing to your mind? If you could share some of your keys to success.
Yeah. I put my nutrition at the top. I mean, I wake up and I eat balanced meals all throughout the day. I work with our team nutritionist. When I was in college, my freshman year, we had our running back go to the NFL, and both his parents were bodybuilders, and he wrote a diet that he would follow, and I got on that diet my freshman year, and I had actually one of the dining hall workers from school call me just the other day to check in on me because he knows me because I was in the dining hall from when it opened to when it closed, just eating food and putting on weight and doing that sort of thing. Now I'm not doing the dorm food. I'm able to kind of focus my meals a little bit better, but it's the most important thing for me is definitely my nutrition. And that's something I always make sure I include in my schedule. Like I said, I write a schedule for the day. I write what my breakfast is. I write when my lunch is, when my dinner is. And I write when I go to the grocery store to make sure I pick up the things that I need so I can eat at consistent times and keep that throughout the day. Like you said, you get to the NFL and it's hard to stay there because as soon as you get in the door, they're looking to replace you with somebody better. And my job is to make sure they don't do that. And one of the advantages that I have is everything that I can control. Everything that I can control is to my advantage if I use it to my advantage. And nutrition is one of them. Hydration is another one of them. Sleep is another one of them. So those kinds of things that are totally within my control are something that I need to control and always do my best to control, because that's the only way that I can control the outcome of my production and my future in the league or whatever career that you're in, is to just focus on those things you can control.
In sports specifically, they talk about tangibles and intangibles. For you, what are the more important intangibles that you could bring to the table to be able to succeed on that level?
Sure. The NFL playbook is a lot different than a college playbook. And and when I got to Yale, I learned an incredible work ethic in terms of studying and how I learn best. I learned a lot about myself too. But what I can do is I can go learn things very, very quickly. If I get put into a scheme, I'm able to pick it up, and I know how to study it, right? I can get myself to sit down and focus on something. That's one thing that I think is something I do really well. I also think, again, my work ethic. I think going to a small school, you don't have the resources that a bigger school has. You don't have the exposure that a bigger school has. You don't have a lot of things that a bigger school has that can force you down the path and keep you straight. You don't have the people trying to keep you straight. So for me, going to Yale and playing football there was a highly self-motivated place for anybody. If you want to succeed, it's on you. If you don't want to succeed, that's on you. So for me, like, I learned how to do it. And I don't think in the NFL, they want guys that they can come in and they'll work with you. And the Falcons do a great job. They work with you. They do this plan D, which is called, it's D for development. And they develop guys really well. And they did that with me. But I think they only work with guys that they're only going to work with you if you want to work.
Right.
If you have that work ethic. And that's one of those things that I have. I want to work. I want to get better. I want to stay extra. I want to go in the building more. I want to learn the playbook. And I think, that's one of the things that I bring to the field for sure.
What are you doing as time is going by, as we're in this situation that is unfamiliar to not only Americans, but globally? What are you doing now to stay mentally fit, physically fit, and understanding that at any point in time when this blows over, it's go time? Because right now you guys will be in training. You guys will be doing,
we would start on Monday. Mm-hmm.
Right. So what are you doing now to kind of just, as this time is going by, there's no gyms open, training facility is closed. What are you doing besides, maybe playing Madden or, trying to run away from the pecan pie? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Stay motivated and physically fit.
Yeah. It's tough. It is a tough time. For a while there, I thought when all this first started, I thought it'll be over by Monday. And then Monday came around and it was like, I might need to start stocking up on some groceries a little longer than usual. And then pretty soon I was working out at some gym that was smaller than my apartment. And now that gym's closed and now I'm stuck in my apartment. And the one thing I remember is everybody's in the same boat. And it would be a disservice to myself to allow that as an excuse and to say, you know what, I can't work out because the gyms are closed.
Right.
That's a disservice to myself. And the people who are going to come out champions of this event are the people who aren't allowing that to happen. So it's, for me, the coronavirus is the quarantine that we have is the best thing that's ever happened to me, because it's a chance for me to focus on me and what I need to do. And it might not all be physical. And I do have a little space in my apartment that I can do some stuff. I've got some weights that I've ordered and things like that to help stay in shape. But it's a chance for me to get mentally just on top of the game in a way that I've never been able to mentally approach the game. And that's something I'm doing. It's opportunity to really focus in on my nutrition and eat properly. It's a chance to get my sleep exactly how I want it to be. It's a chance to focus on factors that affect my life, because it's important to be balanced, and you can be all work and that can work for a while, but at some point, this is my off season and I got to be able to communicate with my family and things like that I can't do in season, because that's healthy for me and that helps me succeed. So I'm using the opportunity to talk on video chat like this with my family, things like that, but using it as an opportunity, getting outside on the grass, staying 6 feet apart, but
right.
Doing everything that I can and making the most of the opportunity in creative ways, because what you don't want is the coronavirus will end, and what you don't want is to have quarantine end and you come out and regret all the time that you did nothing. So for me, I'm using it as an opportunity to really give myself tools as I approach this next season mentally, primarily, because the physical part, we'll get back into that eventually, and that's a lot of muscle memory. But there's a lot of places where I can take my game to the next level and really get an edge, and that's what I'm working on.
Yeah, I think now is the time to take advantage of it in so many ways, because the playing field is level. Everyone's at home, unless you're this huge superstar where you have the gym in your house. It's a little different. I want to talk about you mentioned balance, Jaeden, and coming from the West Coast to the East Coast, and now you're down south. How are you able to balance all of what you're doing and being away from your family, being away from what you knew to be home for a couple of years in Connecticut? Now Atlanta is a different beast. It's a major city. It's a lot different than New Haven, a lot different than back home. For you, how do you maintain balance, and how do you maintain a sense of being humble? Because I get that from you. How do you maintain that?
Sure. I have a great family. I'm the youngest of four. I have two brothers and a sister. Um, and like you said, Atlanta's a different beast. I went to Connecticut, and the first time I went to New York, it was intimidating. I thought New York would just be a bigger Denver, is what I thought, and it's not. And then when I got familiar with New York, and I loved New York, I came down to Atlanta, and Atlanta was not. I thought Atlanta would be like New York, and Atlanta's not like New York, and it's not like Denver. But and leaving all my friends from Connecticut, because coming to Atlanta was so random. It was, it's just like, oh, the Falcons, like that's where I'm going. And
Right.
the first time I've ever been to Georgia was when I was at the Falcons facility. And I don't know if I would have ever been to Atlanta. It's just not a thought that ever really came to my mind. I grew up in an AFC city, so I watched AFC teams. So I didn't really watch the Falcons, an
Right.
NFC team. They didn't really show those games
They didn't show those
in
games out there.
Colorado.
You're absolutely
And now
right.
it's like, here I am. I'm playing all the NFC teams. But I really think it's my family and my friends that support me and help me out a lot through this. When I got to high school, all my siblings were already in college or had graduated college.
Okay.
And I was used to, living with them. And then pretty soon I went from, four kids in the house. My parents have one eye on every kid. And then when I got to high school, I had four eyes on me. And that was tough. And I was excited to go to school. But that was a big switch up. And, I spoke a lot with my parents all the time at school, telling them how practice is going, how school's going, all that sort of thing. And I've got a really good support system. And this past season, my parents came to every single one of the games, home and away.
Wow.
And they work. So that's them flying out red eye on like a Saturday.
Saturday, yeah. And to get back home.
And come in, waking up, going to the game, whether it's in Atlanta or, Minnesota or wherever, Florida, they were doing that every weekend. And that was really cool because it helps. It helps a lot. And the first year was definitely the toughest year for me because at least when I was at school, I had all my football was my family. I knew those guys really well. They were my friends. I hung out with them every day. And when you get to the NFL, you obviously have friends on the team, but it's different because there's guys that have their own families that they live with. There's guys that are in their 30s that are playing in the league. And I didn't know anyone when I got out here. And so I think I probably leaned on my family a little more. And they always supported me. And now I've got friends here that are outside of football, which is great. I'm much closer with guys that are within football, which is awesome. I'll go hang out with those guys. And I still see, like I said, I video chatted with my family the other day and just talking with everybody, and I'll be home as soon as this is over. My brother's getting married, so I'm going to be home. I'm co-best man with my other brother, so I'll be home there for his wedding and see all them again, which will be great.
Nice. Well, congratulations to your brother. I want to ask you throughout this journey, Jaeden, the story is amazing. Your ability to adjust, move, stay hungry. There, I'm certain, are times of doubt, times of, oh man, like I got to get up at 6 a.m. I don't want to get up at 6 a.m. I don't want to go to bed. Who was that person, or what were those keys to success that were given to you that you leaned on during those times that you could share with our viewers and listeners?
Yeah. Well, the first person I would think of, we did this thing at school called Compared to What? And what that was is like, man, you think to yourself, like, this really sucks. But it's like, compared to what though? Like, does this suck compared to like Navy SEALs going and doing their mission, like, and what they do? Like, no. This is like this heat right now on the field. This is brutal. Yeah, but like, how about another military example? How about those guys in Afghanistan? It's probably hot, and they're wearing all this stuff, So we came up with a compared to what, and my compared to what was my brother, who he's type 1 diabetic, and that's where his pancreas stops producing insulin.
Mm-hmm.
And great athlete, and we used to share a room together, and he's the closest to me and my family in age, and we always went in the backyard and played sports or competed against each other. And he's the reason I got into football in the first place, because he played football, and I went to my dad and I said, hey, JJ plays football, I want to play football. And he became my compared to what, because he went and played college baseball. And I knew that in high school he played college baseball, but I didn't know what college sports lifestyle was like until I got to college. And when I realized how difficult that was, and on top of that, he was type 1 diabetic. So he had to take insulin and every time he ate. He had to do all these things and really pay attention. He became like compared to what, which is like, hey, like if he's doing this, like I can do this. And then the second person who just instilled values within me is my dad. He's been a grinder all his life. He used to work as like a paramedic. He used to work on the ski slopes. He used to do all this stuff all at the same time. And he would do like 24-hour shifts as a paramedic just to help pay for him to go to school, like pay for his own bills. He was, and he's always been that way. He always is just a grinder and works. And I think that work ethic is something that I picked up, and also, I mean, my brother. And so those are two people that I see as instilling values or being in like leading me down this path. So
in your own words, Jaeden, can you, once again, those who are listening, who are finding themselves in a place of doubt, speaking to people over the past couple of weeks, anxiety has set in. People are not so hopeful for the greater outcome, and people of losing their jobs. In your own words, what can you share with someone today who is feeling that way, who feels like there's no way out, and they just can't, they feel like there's no sense of waking up tomorrow? What can you share with those individuals who really need some words of encouragement?
Well, I would say it kind of goes back to what I said before, is in the beginning about my journey. And people see my journey as A to Z, but they don't see the B through the Y. And I think if you're looking at something, as a kid, you have your eye on Z, but to get here, you have to see B, you have to see C and D and E, and you have to go through all these steps. And so, I think to looking out ahead at your goals, I think that's important, but I think it's really important to take the time to focus on just one day at a time and doing the best that you can with what you have. Because looking really far ahead can be daunting. Waking up and knowing, because I used to do this, I used to run at the peak of my conditioning in college. I was running 48 110-yard sprints, and that would take a while. And
Wow.
When I woke up on, let me see, I think my trainer had me doing those on Tuesdays. And when I woke up on Tuesday, man, it's a drag to wake up on Tuesday. But then, you break it down and you say, it's not 48, it's just 4 sets of 12. And then it's like, well, it's not really 4 sets of 12, it's down and back 6 times. And it's like, well, I can do down and back 6 times. Like I can do that. And I think just kind of breaking the day down and being able to focus on, and like I said, just making the most of the opportunity and doing things that you'll come out advantageous. And like you said, everyone's in the same boat right now. And there's a lot of things for sure that are going on with families that I'm blessed to say are not affecting my family at the moment. My heart and prayers go out to all those families that are affected by this. But
Definitely.
As an individual, I think you can really make the most of this opportunity, whether that's reaching out to your family or reaching out to your friends or, anything. If writing, you have a book you want to writing the book, reading a book, picking up an instrument, anything like that, I think can really be helpful for the soul, during this time. So.
No, that's amazing. I'm a music guy. So what is a song that would be on the soundtrack to your life that allows you to get up and go get it every day?
Oh man,
it gets you out of that rut no matter what. Now I know it may change because coming from Colorado, living in New Haven, Connecticut, and now being in Atlanta, I'm interested to know what that song is, because they get down in the A. So
Yeah, they do.
you, is there a song on game day that is your go-to that from
My
my daughter
go-to
who plays
song on
soccer,
game day.
she's Lil Wayne all day. So
Yeah.
I want to know what yours.
You know, that's funny because in Colorado you got all these different music tastes. Like I know the areas where if I went to this part of Colorado, they'd be in the country. If you go to this part of Colorado, they listen to, hip hop or EDM, and then college, like they listen to all this stuff. So it just playing baseball and listening to country over the summers, and then playing football and listening to rap in the locker room. I got all these different backgrounds. My dad plays the piano. My sister plays the violin. My brother plays the trumpet. I play the guitar. I got a few guitars over there. So I'm used to like listening to all this music, and like I'm kind of known for like dancing and stuff in the locker room or knowing the lyrics to songs. So it's tough. It's tough to name one single song that would be on my soundtrack. I listen to tons of artists. If you
had to choose an artist, who would it be?
Am I choosing like for game day?
For game day, let's go with game day.
My game day artist, man, I would say, and I might get some hate for this, I realize it, but I think Drake puts out some bangers.
All right.
Every once in a while.
All right. So is Drake on your top 5 dead or alive?
He's on my top 5 for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if he's one. I don't know if he's number 1.
All right.
But there's usually, we were listening to Mo Bamba for all season my rookie year, so. But I know it's not Drake, but
listen,
tough to say.
Jaeden, you the man. I'm looking forward to the season for us getting out. Man, you're an awesome dude, man. I appreciate you sharing your gems, your keys to success, and things that have inspired you. Ladies and gentlemen, please make sure you support this young man. Jaeden, give him your IG for those who are listening.
Yeah. Yeah, my Instagram, I wrote it right here. It's at Jaeden.Graham. I don't know if you can see the dot right there in the middle, JAEDEN.GRAHAM.
Listen, he's on IG. Go to NFL.com, look up the Falcons.
Right. Got new jerseys.
Listen, make sure I get one that signed.
Sure, man.
I wear it proudly. I have to say though, I am a New England Patriots fan.
Oh, okay.
It does cut deep when we talk about the Falcons and the Patriots. But today I am a Jaeden Graham fan, and I want you to continue doing what you're doing, brother. Listen, don't go nowhere, Jaeden. Ladies and gentlemen, please make sure you check this out, like it, love it, share it with somebody, and listen, be inspirational to somebody, do some random act of kindness and make somebody smile. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Winner Circle and Motivate You with June Archer with my special guest, Jaeden Graham of the NFL Atlanta Falcons.
Thanks.